A coaching client recently asked me for some advice on how to be able to handle sales calls in a much easier fashion. And this question I thought was just too important for me not to be able to share and offer some tools and some advice on how to do well with sales calls. Now, I want to be clear that I don't know right now with this advice that I'm sharing if you might have had a referral of someone that's saying, hey, I want to learn about your business and your company, and I just want to get on a phone with you and figure that out. Or if you picked up the phone and you said, I think this might be somebody that could be a good client for me. There could be a whole host of reasons why you're having a sales call. I want to give you a few tools that I find to be most effective when I'm doing calls and trying to sell my services, and also some of the advice that I've given to clients over the years that helps make it much easier to be able to navigate. So this is the first step. Is a lot of times people are going to recommend that you're going to need to do some research on the person that you're going to be speaking to, whether you're selling, for example, to a company and you want to learn a little bit more about what's happening in the news about that company, or if you're selling to an individual and you check out some things like their LinkedIn profile or social media or things like that. Now, yeah, that can be incredibly valuable, and I think it's super helpful to be able to do that. Sometimes, though, it is better to just get on a call and learn about who the person is and what they want to focus on rather than doing all of this work in advance. I also know the reality that sometimes we just don't have time to do that research. And so, if you're looking for the tip on, okay, Maya, I just don't have time to do the research, what do you advise me to do then? I'm going to recommend that you do this. Take a moment and get grounded before the call. Now, this might seem very obvious, or it might seem like, yeah, let me get to the money. No. This is something very critical. I find that if you take 5 minutes before your call, do some deep breathing, say a prayer, do some meditation, whatever your tool is that you prefer to get grounded, here's what's going to happen. When you show up on the call, you are going to be in the best frame of mind to navigate whatever happens. So if the call goes really well and you have a new client, awesome. If the call doesn't really go so well, or even if there's a no-show, for example, the person doesn't show up on the phone call, you being grounded sets you up perfectly to be able to handle that, figure out what happened, and then be able to move on. But a lot of times we're just going from appointment to rushing to doing to, and we don't take that time. And I'm going to show you this, or just suggest to you rather, this can make a critical step for you in being able to get more yeses long term if you just take 5 minutes and say, let me woosah for a minute before I show up and actually listen in to how I can best serve this potential client. Well, now after you've taken 5 minutes before and you've gotten grounded, that leans into the next step of the sales call process. Now, for a lot of us, when it comes to a sales call, we're thinking of one critical thing. How am I gonna make some money? I need somebody coming in here. Let you be a client that I can work with to make money. Well, listen, I understand completely that the reality of us in small businesses is that we need to find ways of bringing more income and really more profit into our companies. So I am all here for the profit. But let me give you a very interesting, super savvy tip that actually is going to help you make profit long term. And listen to what I just said, profit long term. Your job on the sales call is not to sell. Yeah, I said it. Your job on the sales call is not to sell. Your job on the sales call is to listen for the problem they need solved, and then for you to figure out if you, your company, your products and services are the way that can best support that customer get help. Now, you might think of semantics there, and I'm playing around with the words a little bit, and I'm not, my friends. I'm very serious with what I mean by that. Your job is to ask questions, ask fact-finding questions to learn more about the situation that's going on rather than immediately jumping right in and trying to sell. Because a lot of times then we won't even sell. Like I know for myself, if I have to jump right in like, okay, buy, I'll just wind up having a call that feels comfortable and then I'll never ask for the sale, right? Because it's like, that's icky. I'm not trying to hit people over the head with stuff and like force them to buy. So then it's your job to listen. It's your job to really understand what are the issues, what are the problems they're dealing with. And listen, I did this at a recent workshop that I think is a perfect example of this. Let's say, for example, that you're a coffee brewer and you're selling people coffee, right? And I come across your store, and so I go in and I buy a 1 pound bag of coffee, and like, you're happy because you got the sale. I'm happy because I got my coffee, and we kind of move on from there. But here's where your opportunity really was. if you actually talk to me, now, of course, this assumes that, I have time to talk and I'm interested in the conversation, right? So let's just say we were going to do a sales call around this and you got to know me. What you would find out is I tend to drink a lot more coffee in the wintertime because, I live in the Northeast where it's cold, it's dark, it's dreary, you know, I don't feel like getting up because there's like 4 hours of sunshine a day type of thing. And, I need the sun, I need the warmth on my bones. So I drink a ton of coffee in the wintertime. If you were to dig in and figure that out, now I'm giving you the condensed version of it, but really that's what your opportunity is finding out, hey, when do you drink coffee? Like, when do you find you drink more of it or less of it? And, oh, tell me more about that, and asking them questions about it. Then all of a sudden now you can position a 6-month package that what you're doing is you're helping me take away the winter blues, not just selling me coffee. Hey, Maya, wouldn't you like to have that zip, and vim and vigor the same way that you do during the warm summer months in the winter months now? I've got an opportunity for you to be able to get a 6-month package of this coffee. I hope you caught with that example the like really quick opportunity for the upsell that existed. And it only existed if you're listening in on the problem they need solved. And again, I know that this is hard sometimes to be able to do because you really want the money now or yesterday for your business, but I'm going to challenge you on the next calls that you have and the next conversations you have, and it's going to take work, y'all. And that's one of the things that I love working with my coaching clients on, is helping them find their languaging about this, right? Helping them find their comfort zone about having these conversations. You got to listen for the problems they need solved and then solve those, okay? Don't dig in and try to hit them over the head and sell them something you think that they need, because you might be missing out on a much bigger opportunity if you listen in for what that thing is in that regards, right? And then this is the big money strategy at the end of the day that a lot of small businesses are not digging into and mess around. We're going to do a whole training, workshop, session, series, everything on just this alone. What is your follow-up? And let me give you an example of how follow-up works. Have you attended an event online recently? I bet you have. You've attended an event and you spoke to someone in the chat and they're like, hey, we should have coffee afterwards, right? And you go ahead and you grab a coffee with the person. Awesome. Then after the coffee, the person says, hey, what you're doing is really, really great. I think I could be interested, but not right now. We should touch base in 3 months. Do you have a follow-up process to be able to make sure you touch base with that person in 3 months? Probably not, because most of us don't. We're like, oh, yeah, I'll get back to you. I got you. Or if you sell to somebody today and they really love your product and service, do you have a way of automating 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, a year from now, whatever the cycle is for your product and service, that you follow up with them? Now, you should be sending out a thank you note to someone that bought from you, so that goes without saying. But if you haven't sent them a thank you note, that's fine. Do you follow up with them? Is there a process you have after the call? And here's why. A lot of times what happens with conversations is we've got to build a relationship with people. We've got to get to know, like, and trust people before we are going to be ready to commit. And sometimes the person may be a really awesome person, right? Like, you may be the company I need to work with. It's just not a fit right now. Well, listen, this is your job, folks, as an entrepreneur, is to create the fire follow-up process, right? We're going to call it the FU process here because sometimes it feels like that. But listen, that process can really, really bring in some serious bank into your business, where you're going to make sure to stay engaged with people. You're going to make sure to figure out, how do I still stay in touch with people? You're not annoying them. I want to be clear, but you're gently building the relationship. You're guiding them through the process to hear what are the challenges they're dealing with right now that potentially your business can help solve. And what'll happen is you'll spend way less time looking for new customers if you start this process. And yeah, it'll be uncomfortable and there'll be some work to get started. But 6 months from now, a year from now, can you figure out the math on this about how awesome it will be for your business and how much easier your sales calls will be? So listen, I hope that you enjoyed these 3 steps that I shared with you. Get grounded before the call, listen for the problems that they need solved, and also make sure you're creating a follow-up process. And if you haven't already, I need you to hit the subscribe button to this channel, because when I drop my next fire content to be able to help you crush your sales and earn more money in your business, I want to make sure that you're here, because my goal is very simple. I know for a lot of small businesses right now, there's a ton of information that is out there about sales and marketing and, how do you work on social media and things like that. But very often, we're not building long term sustainable strategies for our businesses so that our businesses can prosper 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and doing it in a way where it looks authentic to us, right? And it feels good to us. Like if sales is not your jam, then I'm your person because I can help you do it in a way where it feels really good to who you are and how you show up. All right. So make sure you like this video, you hit the subscribe button, and I will definitely be back with more content to be able to help guide you on how to be able to earn more within your business.